Black Sash Training, welcome back. If you ever left, welcome back. All right, so what posture should we cover today? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Before that, let's just talk about daily practice. So I copy this from Grandmaster Gohring. I don't know, he might have copied it from one of his teachers, but I don't put any pressure on anyone to practice. I don't assign homework. I might later on, if you're advanced in something very specific, would help. But at first, it's not like you're not going to get in trouble for not doing your Tai Chi every day. To me, in my mind, that sort of sets up the wrong relationship between me and Tai Chi, at least. I can't speak for your relationship with Tai Chi, but that's my own. If you can find a way to enjoy your Tai Chi practice, it's something you'll probably do regularly anyway. But if you're trying to create a habit, then what I would suggest is start by trying to have a regular habit of a smaller bite. So for example, I wouldn't say, all right, I'm going to start a daily practice of Tai Chi. I'm going to do that by doing the entire Nie Kung set extra long in the morning and at night every day. Like that, if you did that, that would probably be good for you, assuming you weren't doing things wrong in a way that would injure you over time. But I think there would be a good chance if you went from no daily practice to that there would be, you might be setting yourself up to fail, to not make one or two, and then to sort of give up on the whole thing. So the opposite end of that is just pick something very small, and Embracing Horse is a really good candidate for that because it's the first one we do, which is ranked by importance of doing it as well as sort of the order of how you should get into the set. So it's not a coincidence that Embracing Horse is first. And then don't worry if you can't do a whole lot of it. Start with just a little bit. Maybe even make it, if you know yourself and you have trouble starting things like this, maybe just make it ridiculously small. Like, all right, every day I'm going to do at least Embracing Horse, just getting into it. That's my minimum. So if it comes like 3 or 4 days into the practice and you're rushed in the morning when you would have set aside time or something, then you don't get mad at yourself that you didn't do it. You're like, all right, this is all I have today. Or something like that. Just an example. Even just the breathing and relaxation. I find it easier to do the breathing and relaxation when someone else is saying it. You might be the same way. But if you can sort of just say it to yourself in your head for just a few breaths even, that's better than nothing. Okay, so let's, we may jump around and do different postures in here. I think in day class they did a bunch of compass, and I know there's some questions about various postures. We'll come back to some of those other ones, but let's revisit Embracing Horse. So, Embracing Horse. Yeah. Shoulder width. I learned my shoulder width from Embracing Horse and from being corrected in class over time to a little smaller, a little wider, till finding where the feet and legs are aligned. Because it's not, like I've said before, it's not a measurement of shoulders applied to feet. It's a rough estimate of where your feet should be in relation to your hips, the rest of your body. Getting into it. So there's different mindsets you can have getting into it. One that I like, it's not how I started out, but one that I like is the stretching through, almost like you're putting your arms through a jacket or something, trying to get it on. So, and then doing that with a whole body motion, coordinated whole body motion very slowly. So I'll turn at a slight angle. You don't need to just see Embracing Horse from the front. So I might go like this, and you can do it with me. Start to stretch and circle the fingers out, and my knees start to bend, and a slight tuck starts to happen all at once. And then I feel the closing of the chest and the final bit of sinking down to where I'm going to sink down. And I felt nicely from the tuck to the top of the head, like it didn't really change a whole lot through that process of getting into it. So I get to feel the connection between my regular neutral standing stance and my back in my Embracing Horse. Does that make sense? It's just one way to get in. I'll say a couple other ideas of how to approach it. Less about the detail of where the knees and tuck in and all that stuff. Shoulders and elbows are not up here. All that kind of stuff. If you have questions about that, still, I'll happily answer those after you ask. So let's do that. I'll face a little differently. So getting into Embracing Horse, like I'm stretching through. So It almost feels like I'm about to do Ride the Wild Horse, but I start to stretch through the fingers a little bit as I'm sitting back and feeling a connected amount of each sitting back for each motion forward with the arms. Then I'll go through a little extra relaxation if I'm not used to getting into it that way and I did something a little differently. I'll feel through all the stuff I know. And release. Okay, so let me see if I can, that's one way to get into it. You might have, when you first began Tai Chi, you might have had a more embracing horse. And most people come in tense in the shoulders and neck when they begin Tai Chi. And so what we'll first do is we'll get into it kind of like this. We'll just say bend the knees, circle the arms, and it'll just kind of be here. And that's okay. If that's where you are, especially at first, just looking for softness is okay. So I'm used to holding tension I didn't know I had. So now I'm going to become aware of it and let it go and be soft where I was unconsciously tense. I may become consciously engaged through a part that was unconsciously tense later, and that's okay. That's correct. So yeah, it sounds diminutive, but it's kind of like a limp, slightly limp embracing horse. But focus on relaxation. It's not sort of getting the extended half of the snake and the snake in the crane. Yeah, so that's pretty easy to do too. What it would look like, you can still do a little circle through the arms, but really it's about just getting soft where you might be tense. See if there's any other fun ways to get into it. Or informal. Not off the top of my head. Probably infinite ways to get into it, as many as people try it. But, okay. Last thing I'll say is you can try different sizes of embracing horse. So shoulder width is a good sort of middle distance. And the Tai Chi we do is middle sized as well. Did you know there's different sized Tai Chi? For the same form, you can do a very small, it won't bend the knees a lot. It'll be more upright. You can do more middle, which is kind of what we do here, where it's physical benefit but not too inaccessible. Upright is very accessible, but you're not getting as much of the real martial physical benefit. A little bigger. You can go even a little wider than that, and there will be a balance between how low you sink and how big, or I guess a ratio, I should say, between how low you sink and how big the feet are. So at this bigger distance, I feel embracing horse about right here, a little lower. And then alternatively, really the reason I brought this up is you can do smaller. So I can come in a little smaller than my shoulder width. If I try to go as low now, it won't be right. So I'll have to sort of feel through it again. Circle, arms, sink down, and here it is. Not as conditioning in the thighs, but I can do my deep breath, do my relaxation, and still be working on balance and correct alignment. Okay. So if you have any questions about any of that, let me know. I wish you good embracing horse practice on your own. Okay, so let's bow out our black sash straight with our life skill. Recently reviewed again. I'll do two slow ones and a fast one. The path of self-mastery requires a focused mind. A focused mind sees no obstacles. Slow again. The path of self-mastery requires a focused mind. A focused mind sees no obstacles. Regular speed. The path of self-mastery requires a focused mind. A focused mind sees no obstacles. Beginners, black sash training dismissed.